Warning, this video contains strong language that may be offensive to some viewers. Please be advised. Otherwise, please enjoy. Cleaning Team 3 is working full steam ahead. The team has their work cut out for them. Soyeon tells the team that she was a little worried about coming into work today, but it's not as bad as she thought. Juno tells her that this may be a large-scale operation, but they're just cleaners. They probably won't cross paths with the subjugation squad until the end. Sang-hyuk is a little disappointed that they won't even get to watch the hunters in action. He says that defeats the whole point of a joint operation. Guntae reminds him that he is no hunter, and that all they need to do is stick to their own duties. Sometime later, Guntae tells everyone to begin embalming if they are done with disassembling. He reminds everyone to vacuum pack each carcass part separately after embalming them, because they can't afford to have the carcasses decompose until the conquest is over. Sang-hyuk brushes him off, and he remarks that was like the 100th time he told them. Guntae tells Sang-hyuk to be serious because they have to take extra caution for this joint operation. Normally, monster carcasses of such a great amount would be incinerated on the spot, but not today, because the conquest is actively going on. The cleaning team have decided to embalm and vacuum pack the carcass parts after disassembly to prevent them from decomposing. Sang-hyuk remarks that this is going to take all day. Juno is thinking the exact same thing. Sang-hyuk's stomach begins grumbling, and he asks the boss when their lunch break is. Guntae asks Sang-hyuk if he knows that they just got there. He is thinking, that's enough whining for the day. Moments later, Soyeon approaches them and asks if they care for some snacks. Sang-hyuk quickly perks up with a big smile. He is surprised to find out that they had snacks. Soyeon says she had packed some chocolate bars just in case. She turns to Juno and she asks him if he would like one, and Juno doesn't respond. She apologizes to him, and she tells him that she forgot how he doesn't like to be distracted while working. However, Juno was actually contemplating which one he wanted. With a dignified expression, he says, "I'll take the strawberry flavor, thanks." As Soyeon watches Juno eating his snack, she pictures him as a cute bunny, nibbling on a carrot. Now that everyone's stomach is full, Guntae rallies his team to get back to work. Even though this is the cleaning team's first large-scale operation, they really didn't have any major issues. After all, they are doing the tasks that they normally do every day. However, 8 hours later, as the operation team continues to make headway on their conquests, the cleaning team begins to fall behind. 10 hours into the operation, members of the cleaning team begin to tire out and drop like flies. By the 15th hour, Sang-hyuk dozed off while disassembling a carcass, and he injured his hand. Fortunately, it wasn't serious. However, that was only the beginning. A packed and sealed bag had burst open along the way. Everyone is feeling weary and delirious, including Juno. Juno's soul is slowly leaving his body. The cleaning team is drastically falling behind. 18 hours into the operation, the cleaning team is radioed by someone on the strategy team. He says the gas levels in the dungeon are rising, and he tells them to check and report back. Guntae apologizes to him, and he tells him that they're currently behind schedule. The person asks which zone they are working in right now. Guntae tells him that they are in Zone 5 right now. The person is in shock. He tells Guntae that they just finished Zone 10, and he asks him if he is really telling them that they're 5 zones behind. Guntae apologizes to him, and he tells him that they're going to take a quick 1-hour break and get back to working as fast as they can. The man on the strategy team begins yelling at him. He asks Guntae if he is out of his mind, and he says that the gas levels are rising as they speak, and yet they're going to take a break for an hour. Juno snatches the walkie-talkie, and he tells the man that everyone is worn out, and that they are working beyond their limits. He then tells him to please contact leader Minju Kim, and request a hold on the subjugation. The man tells him no, not possible, because doing so will push back the timeline for completing the conquest. Juno questions him if he wants them to continue working, in the condition that they are in. He tells him that he had just told him none of them are physically capable right now. The strategy team replies, "That's your team's problem, not ours." Juno takes a moment to think. And then, he tells him to send them some hunters, who aren't working right now to help. The man replies, "Negative," and he asks why any hunter should do the cleaning. Juno is now really ticked. "Hey you asshole, put Minja Kim on the line. Right now." Somewhere in the dungeon, Juno pays the strategy team a visit. Dung Ben Lim asks him what he thinks he is doing. He tells him that he thought the cleaning team had it all figured out, and he asks him if he does not see the gas levels are rising. He asks him if he shouldn't be cleaning if he had the time to come here. Dung Ben Lim then remarks that this is clearly a misconduct at work, and he tells him that he can cite him for slacking off. Juno continues to ignore him as he stomps his way towards him. He asks him where Minja Kim is. Dung Ben Lim tells him that it is none of his business, and he asks him if he doesn't think he is being a little outrageous. He then tells him about how he has told him multiple times not to interfere with the conquest. Juno tells him that they've been working non-stop for the past 18 hours without a single break, and he asks him if they look like some machine. Dung Ben Lim cuts him off. He asks him if he is giving up now. He then begins making a scene. He shouts that this is a big problem, and that the operation is about to go down, all because the cleaning team can't do their job right. He tells Juno that the hunters grinded their asses to prepare for this for weeks, and that it looks like they'll have to call off the bonus. Juno is growing very agitated, as Dung Ben Lim continues to berate him. Slacking off, non-compliance to orders, and abandoning the operation. Dung Ben Lim deepens his voice. He tells Juno that he doesn't think he understands how important this operation is, but this is a major issue. He then tells him that he will do everything he can to see to it that the cleaning team pays for this, and Juno begins laughing. Dung Ben Lim asks him what is so funny. Juno tells him that he knew something wasn't quite right, and that he was wondering why he was so determined to put the cleaning team in this operation. He remarks that he sees this has been his plan all along. Nitpicking on everything they do, to put them in disciplinary punishment. He tells him that he has an outstanding knack for doing things like this, and he gives him credit for it. Juno continues to call Dung Ben Lim out on his plans. He tells him that he can't suck up to the cleaning team forever, so he thought he could take them down with some disciplinary punishment. He asks him if he doesn't think that's a cheap move for a team leader to make. "You should be ashamed of yourself." Dung Ben Lim tells Juno to say it again, and he calls him a punk. He asks him if he thinks he is all that, with his connections, and he tells him that not even the chairman can cover for his abandoning an entire operation. Juno decides to entertain his idea. "Alright, let's say my team abandoned the operation. What now? Are you gonna proceed with this conquest, with the gas levels still rising?" Dung Ben Lim pulls out his walkie-talkie, and he radios someone. He says, "It's me, Dung Ben Lim. Minja Kim, do you have a minute?" Minju and her team are in the middle of fighting a boss monster. She tells him that she is a little busy. She wonders what's with the sudden call. Dung Ben Lim tells her that they have a problem. The cleaning team has abandoned the operation. Minju exclaims, "What?" Dung Ben Lim tells her that, at this rate, they will all suffocate to death before they even finish the conquest. He tells her that he will take the lead from here on out. Minju asks him what he means, but Dung Ben Lim cuts her off and begins yelling. He tells her that this is no situation for a rookie hunter like her to be in control, and he demands her to transfer her authority over to him now. Juno laughs, and he remarks, "Once an asshole, always an asshole." Dung Ben Lim asks Juno about what he just said, and Minju cuts him off. She calls out to her master. She asks him if it's true that the cleaning team has abandoned the operation. Juno asks her if she feels like she's on the verge of death by now. Minju is confused by his question. She hesitates to respond. Her team has just defeated the boss monster. And then, Dung Ben Lim flies off the handle. "What are you waiting for, you dumbass? Hand over the authority. Do you want us all dead? This dumbass thinks she's somebody because she's a team leader now. Minju replies, oh. She tells him alright, she'll pass it over. Dongben Lim grins, and he remarks, now, that's what I'm talking about. And then Minju says, to cleaner Juno Kim. Everyone bolts their attention to Juno, as she continues on to making an official statement. As of now, I, Minju Kim, leader of the subjugation squad, hand over my authority to the cleaning team 3 leader, Juno Kim. Juno cracks his neck, with a big smirk on his face. Dongben Lim and the hunters are completely flabbergasted. They stare at Juno dumbstruck, like a deer in headlights. Juno is thinking, it's about time to show off my real skills. Juno announces to everyone that starting now, he will be taking command of this operation. Everyone around him stays silent. And then, Dongben Lim bursts out laughing. He asks Juno what that was about. He questions, a cleaner like him, taking command? He then tells him that he must be mistaken, because he's the team leader here. He asks him if he thinks he gets to lead the team right away, just because he has some authority over the squad. Juno scoffs at him. He asks him if he is trying to pull a fast one on him, mentioning ranks in the dungeon, as if he doesn't know that authority is everything, down here in the dungeon. Dongben Lim is taken aback by Juno's remark. He asks him how he knew. He then asks him if he was a hunter. Juno flails his arms with exasperation, and he asks why everyone keeps asking him that, and if that is really so important. Dongben Lim shouts, of course it is, especially when a mere cleaner insists on taking command. He tells him that everyone's lives are at stake here, and that this won't just end in disciplinary action. Juno asks Dongben Lim if he is saying that he wants him to hand over the authority, because I'm just a rookie, while you're an experienced hunter. Dongben Lim stutters that's right, and he tells him to hand him over the authority right now, and he will then call off the disciplinary action on his team. Juno brushes him off. He tells him that he couldn't care less about the disciplinary action. On the other hand, the real issue is that seeing him brings back all the shitty memories. He tells him that he must have had a sweet time stealing and taking credit for other people's achievements. Sweat begins to trickle down Dongben Lim's face. He tells Juno that he doesn't know what he is talking about, and Juno cuts him off. He tells him to just sit back and watch. He then deepens his voice, and he says, "You're eliminated from the operation." Dongben Lim's jaw drops to the ground, with his eyes bursting out of their sockets. He is completely devastated. Elimination from operation. It is the highest level of disciplinary action. It nullifies all aspects of a person's participation in a conquest, including pay and performance. Juno places his hand on Dongben Lim's chin to lift it up, and he snatches his walkie-talkie. He tells him to shut it, and he asks him if it's his first time getting a disciplinary action. He radios everyone in the dungeon, and says he is cleaner Juno Kim, from Cleaning Team 3. He then says this is an announcement to the entire subjugation squad. As of this moment, team leader Dongben Lim has been eliminated from the operation. And then, Dongben Lim falls to the ground, as his reality sinks in. Juno continues to speak to everyone. He tells them that he wants everyone to work together to finish this conquest. And, as they've heard, Hunter Minju Kim has transferred her authority over to him, which means they are all to follow his directions from here on out. He then turns his attention to the hunters, teams B and C, in the room. He tells them that since they aren't doing anything, they will go and help the cleaning team. They begin talking back at Juno. They remark, that's just going over the line. They tell him that they're hunters, and they didn't get themselves the title just so they do some cleaning. Juno tells them that he sees. And then, right off the bat, he tells them that both teams are eliminated from the operation for not complying with his order. They all scream in shock. Juno calls out to Team A, and he tries to get a hold of them. Meanwhile, the hunters in Teams B and C are making a fuss. They ask Juno if he thinks this is a joke. Minju responds to his call. She is in the middle of fighting a monster. Juno asks her if she can hear him loud and clear, and she affirms. He tells her that he dismissed some hunters from the operation, so her team will have to take on some extra work. He asks her if she is currently working in Zone 11. She tells him yes, but she is struggling with defeating the boss monster right now. Juno informs her that that good-for-nothing bear is immune to attacks for 10 minutes after the first blow. He instructs her to position the Guardian-class hunters in front, and have the healers ready to treat the Guardians with single buff skills. Once the monster's immunity defense is down, it will most likely come after whoever is right in front of it. So, they need to line up whoever can take a hit in the front. After the monster deals the first blow, they can then proceed immediately with a counter-strike. Juno asks Minju to please tell him that she has strengthened her left-hand grip. Minju replies, "Of course, master." Juno says, "Alright then, give it a shot." Minju asks everyone in her team if they heard him, and she gives them the order to begin their assault now. After 10 minutes, the monster's immunity deactivates. The healer hunter begins activating Heavenly Blessing, and he lets the Guardian in front of him know. The female Guardian hunter shouts at the monster to come at her. The boss monster becomes very agitated, and it immediately attacks her with full force. The female Guardian hunter grunts loudly as she blocks its attack, while she tries to hold her ground. Minju quickly gets into position. She activates one counter, a skill that increases damage on weak spots by 3000%. She thrusts her sword into the side of the monster's body and slashes all the way through. The boss monster begins to growl at her. Minju maintains her guard, as she watches the monster draw its last breath. Juno grins when Minju informs him that they've cleared Zone 11. The hunters, who are with him, are in shock. They can't believe that Minju was able to defeat the boss monster under Juno's direction. Juno exclaims, "Alrighty." And he orders Team A to subjugate the rest of the boss monsters in the next 50 minutes. Subjugation Squad Team A have moved on to the next zone. Juno informs them that Zone 12 will be infested with ghost-type monsters, and physical attacks won't be effective against them. So, they can let the Inspection-class hunters stay in the back, and the Magician-class hunters should use their strongest skill and attack in rapid succession. Next is the hallucination stage. Juno instructs them to have the healer hunters use their purifying skills, and squeeze everything out of them, down to the last drop. He then tells them to not overdo anything, and to make sure they don't waste their energy and make moves that are unnecessary. They just need to strike where it counts. Meanwhile, the hunters of Team B and C are talking amongst themselves, as they watch Juno with confusion. They wonder what the hell is going on. They ask, wasn't he just an ordinary cleaner? Juno continues to direct the subjugation squad on using their skills for the final move, and he tells them that it's easy peasy. And then, Minju replies, "Impossible, sir." Juno is confused. He asks her what's impossible. Minju informs him that everyone is drained, and they can't use their skills to the best of their ability. In addition, their strength levels have plummeted, and she doesn't think they can hold out any longer. Juno scratches his head with judgment. He asks her what kind of hunter can't take down a single monster. He gets up and begins walking. He tells her to hang in there, because he's coming. Meanwhile, Minju is fighting the boss monster alone. She has been continuously using her sword skills against it. However, the boss monster remains nearly unscathed. Minju is concerned. She thinks there is something unusual about this monster, and it's nothing like the ones they've subjugated up to this point. It takes blows without taking on any damage. And despite its huge size, it is incredibly fast. Minju jumps away from the monster. However, the monster quickly reacts and grabs onto her leg. The monster swings hard and thrashes her into the ground. Minju is lying on a pile of rubble, and she is coughing out blood. Moments later, she sees Juno standing over her, and she calls out to him, "Master." Juno remains quiet, and he stretches out his hand to her. Minju sees the concerned look on his face. She tries to laugh it off, and she tells him that this is nothing, and he knows that she does better in real situations. She raises her arm, and reaches out to grab onto his hand. And then, Juno says, "The sword." Minju replies, "What?" Juno clarifies, "Give me your sword." Minju says, "Oh." She is completely dumbstruck. As Juno walks away with her sword, the healer hunter rushes over to her and helps her get up. He asks her if she is alright. Minju doesn't respond to him. She is feeling down in the dumps. Juno stands in front of the monster, and he now sees why Minju and her team were struggling. He didn't expect to find the giant ogre log, a red-level monster here. However, he has satisfied a requirement to unlock another skill with this project. He calls on the system to begin unlocking his skill. Over immersion, requirement to unlock skill, initiate a joint project with another department, has been met. Skill, over immersion, is unlocked. Juno proceeds to activate his newly unlocked skill. Over immersion is a skill that significantly boosts other skills that have been activated during battle. The giant ogre log begins attacking Juno, and it comes at him with its fist. Juno quickly dodges its attack. With the sword in his hand, he stretches his arm behind his back. And then, with a full swing, he strikes the giant ogre log's hand with the hilt of the sword. Blood begins gushing out through the cracks Juno made in its hand. The giant ogre log screeches with fury, and it begins to attack with its other hand. It strikes hard into the ground, where Juno is standing. The giant ogre log watches for the cloud of dust to clear. It becomes shocked when it sees Juno, still standing in the same spot. Juno raises the sword above his head, to prepare for a downward strike, and he activates Hellfire. He then activates one counter, to increase his damage by 3000%. However, his over-immersion skill increases this amount, by another 3000%. Juno is now ready to unleash the full force of his power. As soon as he strikes the sword into the giant ogre log, blasts of fire erupt from within the cracks of its body. The giant ogre log begins screeching, as the flames take over its body. And then, the monster explodes, and Minju and her team watch in astonishment. The healer hunter is completely amazed by what he just saw. He turns to Minju, and he asks her who the hell is that man. Minju tells him he's a cleaner, and she asks him if he can't tell. He remarks, "That's no cleaner." He asks her if they shouldn't recruit him right away. Minju tells her team to keep the master's abilities just between them. She tells them that wealth, honor, and power, at least by their standards, and skills, stats, weapons, don't matter to him. Meanwhile, Juno's OCD skill suddenly activates. He begins cursing, because he got blood all over him. Minju continues to tell her team about him. He's a man who is content, as long as he is where he wishes to be, working with his colleagues. After the joint operation project ended, news about Dung Ben Lim quickly spread like wildfire. The team leader of the large-scale Yongdongpo operation has been eliminated from the conquest. In addition, reports of his embezzling the bonuses of other employees have also surfaced. Min Chul-Su, the general manager of the association, is furious. "You goddamn idiot, how could you possibly let yourself be eliminated from such an important operation?" Dung Ben Lim and Suyan Li are in his office. Dung Ben Lim apologizes to him. He then tells him that Minju Kim and that cleaner must have plotted together, and Min Chul-Su cuts him off. He tells him to stop with the bluff, and he asks him if he thinks he wouldn't know that this all happened, only because he tried to steal Minju Kim's performance. Dung Ben Lim begins pleading with him. He tells him that he can't just blame it all on him, because he himself approved the required personnel list. And then, Min Chul-Su grabs onto Dung Ben Lim's hair, and he tells him to listen. He asks him if he looks like a friend to him. He tells him that he has been going easy on him, because he was Suyang Li's senior, but this time, he crossed the line. Dung Ben Lim shudders, as Min Chul Su tells him that now he is all over the news, he will not get away with this so easily. He lets go of his hair, and orders him to go and write a letter of apology, while he waits for his disciplinary action. He then tells him to get the hell out of his sight. Dung Ben Lim quickly leaves his office. Suyang Li speaks up to Min Chul Su, with trepidation. He asks him about what if Dung Ben Lim rats them out to that cleaner, about their plotting this together. Min Chul Su begins cursing. He gazes out the window as he thinks about the situation. And then, he asks Suyang Li a question. How about we promote Min Ju Kim as the team leader? Several days later, an official notice of disciplinary action was sent to everyone on Strategy and Operation Team 2, for their negligence of duty. Dung Ben Lim, in particular, was suspended from his rank. A disciplinary measure that is no different than a hunter being fired. Members of Cleaning Team 3 show up in Minju's office with flowers to congratulate Minju on her promotion. Minju Kim is the new leader of Strategy and Operation Team 2. Guntae tells Minju that he knew things would work out for her. Sang Hyuk lets Minju know that he is going to start bragging about being friends with the Operation Team leader. Minju is overjoyed. She feels completely touched by their support. She tells them thank you so much. She then becomes a little emotional, and Soyeon tells her not to cry. As Minju wipes away her tears, she tells them that she isn't crying, she's just allergic to pollen. Juno is thinking, those are artificial flowers, you idiot. Minju tells them that she should have come to see them sooner, but she's been so busy. Guntae tells her that it is no worries. Soyeon asks her if this means she is the captain here on out. Sang Hyuk tells Soyeon that of course, she's the team leader now, and she's basically on the same level as Suyang Lee. Minju begins blushing with embarrassment. She tells him no, not exactly, and that Suyang Lee has way more experience than she does. Minju remarks how the office looks a bit empty. Juno tells her that the association did fire a lot of hunters, so there's nothing she can do about an empty office. He asks her how many are left on the team. Minju answers 17. She tells him that they're basically outcasts here, so that could be why the association tossed the position over to her. Juno interrupts her, and he tells her there is no need for her to be so humble. He asks her if she thinks anyone can become a team leader, and he tells her that she can take credit for this and own it. Minju tells him okay, and she thanks him. She is very touched by her master's sentiment. However, Juno is facing towards the wall, because he is trying to hide how he really feels about her situation. God damn it, it was not until I was 30 that I became a team leader. Minju is thinking, her master is really congratulating her wholeheartedly. She tells Juno that, to be frank, this is all thanks to him. She may be the team leader, but the team basically belongs to him. Juno quickly cuts her off. He tells her to watch her words, and to not say that, especially not in front of her team. Minju is confused. She asks him why not. Juno asks her what kind of hunter would be happy to hear that their team leader is a cleaner. He tells her that also, the team almost went up in smoke because of him. And then suddenly, 3 hunters walk into the room, and they announce to their boss that they're back. The tall male hunter says that the other hunters are running a little late. The female hunter says she is starving. They don't realize that there are guests in the room, but the healer hunter immediately notices Juno. He exclaims, "Wait, what?" And then, they all gasp and shout, "It's the cleaning team." They immediately line up, and bow their heads, and they all say it is nice to meet them. These 3 hunters were members of Minju's original team, and they were also members of the Team A subjugation squad in the joint operation. They begin introducing themselves to the cleaning team. The female hunter tells them she is Jian Hong, and the male hunter says he is Jin Ho Lee. Sang Hyuk and Soyeon are completely startled. The healer hunter goes straight to Juno, and he tells him that he admired his performance on the last operation.
Juno is also feeling a little startled. The sparkles in the hunter's eyes are too bright for him. He replies, "Oh. Thanks." The hunters then gather and strike a superhero pose. They tell the cleaning team to think of them as the same team, and to treat them as their own. They can always count on them if there's anything they can help with. Juno is completely weirded out by their behavior. He wonders if she has been brainwashing them. He asks Minju what is wrong with them. Sang-hyuk and Soyeon are shocked to hear him make a blatantly rude remark in front of the hunters. Minju asks Juno if he agrees that the hunters are reliable. She is feeling very proud of them. She then exclaims, "Not even the headquarters will be able to mess with the cleaning team now." She tells Juno that he can sit back and focus on his cleaning task from now on. Juno is thinking, "Oh, right. I forgot the team leader was not normal to start with." Sometime later, the hunters have left the room, and Minju is wondering where the person is. She says it's about time that she arrives. Juno asks her who else is coming. Minju tells him that the support team informed her that they were sending a secretary today. Juno remarks that he guesses she'd need one, now that she's a team leader. He thinks about his previous life, when he was a team leader, and that it was quite handy to have a designated secretary. He then gets a sudden realization. His designated secretary in his previous life was manager Ah-young Lee. She was the only person who was with him on the night of his death, and the one person in the association whom he spent the most time with. She must already be with the association around this time. He asks Minju about her secretary's name. Minju tells him she doesn't know, she only heard that she was coming in today. Juno decides to never mind her. It's not like he has anything to say to her, she wouldn't recognize him in this life anyway. Guntae says that they should get going, if there is a guest coming. Minju tells him that there is no need. Guntae tells her they have work to do anyway. As they say bye to each other, Juno is the first one to get going. When he opens the door, he finds a young woman standing right in front of him. She says hello, and she tells Juno that she is Hae-yeon Song, from the support team, and she is here as Ms. Minju Kim's secretary. She is feeling terrified. Juno asks her if he looks like Minju Kim to her. Minju calls out to her, and tells her that she's the one who she's looking for, and she invites her to come in. Hae-yeon Song apologizes to her and tells her that she is quite new to all this. Guntae tells Juno to get going because they are running late. He sees that her secretary is not Ms. Lee. Juno tells Minju, "See ya," as he walks out the door, and Minju tells him to be careful. Hae-yeon Song wonders if that guy is Juno Kim, and she thinks he looks scary as hell. Later in the day, Hae-yeon Song is back at the association office. She is feeling completely overwhelmed. She can't believe that she was assigned to be someone's secretary in just 2 months after joining the organization, and she thinks it is all too much. A young woman walks in and sees Hae-yeon throwing a mental tantrum. She asks her what is wrong, and if her superior is worse than she expected. Hae-yeon exclaims, "Oh, Deputy Manager Ms. Ah-young Lee." Ah-young Lee asks her if it's Minju Kim. She tells her that she heard Minju was appointed leader of a team that almost went up in smoke. Hae-yeon Song lets out a sigh, and tells her yes, and that Minju Kim seems like a nice person, but she must have gotten on the general manager's bad side. She can't believe he'd appoint a newbie like her as a secretary. Ah-young Lee asks her if she hasn't heard. She tells her that getting on Min Chul-soo's bad side means that you're doing your job right. Hae-yeon Song asks her about who said that. Ah-young Lee tells her to trust her, and that it's true. She tells Hae-yeon Song good luck anyway, and that she heard Minju Kim is quite close to that cleaner, who has connections to the chairman. She recalls his name, Juno Kim, and she tells her that she never knows, she just might join the chairman's circle if she gets on Mr. Kim's good side. Hae-yeon Song tells her that she already ran into him once today, and it's a no thank you for her. He looks scary as hell. She continues to talk about him. If he's under the chairman, then he's gotta be one of those power trippers.
I mean, you should have seen him glare at me when I walked into him. I almost mistook him as some gangster because of the scar on his nose. I bet he's never dated a single girl in his life. Ah Young-lee questions her. She tells her that Juno seemed to be doing a superb job on the cleaning team though. Not only did he successfully obtain a budget expansion for his team, but he also taught the hunters, who looked down on his team, a lesson. It was a cleaner against hunters, and yet he beat them all. Hae Yun-song scoffs at her, and she tells her that it's all just a pretense, and she bets her that he will scram the moment when a big problem arises. Ah Young-lee asks her if she really thinks so. She tells her that she now has got her curious about this Juno Kim. Meanwhile, Juno is wondering if someone is talking about him, because his ears are burning. Guntae has noticed that Juno has been scratching his ear all day long.